10% off your order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Code Bill.
Are uneven concrete surfaces causing you headaches? Polytime Concrete Leveling and Restoration has the solution. We're a veteran and family-owned business offering long-lasting solutions for all your concrete problems. From precision concrete leveling to our superior restoration services, our precision polyjacking outperforms traditional mud jacking any day. Call Polytime at 636-487-3282 for a free estimate or visit itspolytime.com. Mention Newstock SDL and get $125 off any job of $600 or more, or 10% off your service.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. Newstalk STL.
Newstalk STL.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. On this Tuesday, well, the Three Americans show was a hit, according to more than 1,200 spectators that saw it, and they watched something unique. Three professional TV people with totally different points of view discussing important issues with wit and perspicacity. Word of the day. Stephen A. Smith, Chris Cuomo, and me, your humble correspondent, let it fly about Donald Trump, the troubled Democratic Party, DEI, the corrupt media, on and on. Opinions flew and were challenged. Stephen A. and I disagreed on equity, but we did it in a friendly way. You don't correct historical problems by creating contemporary problems. You don't correct unfairness in the past by being unfair now. All right? If you are a college, an employer, or anybody else, and you have an opportunity, and you're going to say, well, I'm not going to take the best person unless they're the right color, or they're trans, or they're this, or they're that. That's wrong.
Great.
Okay, period.
All right.
Wrong.
May I retort?
Sure.
Hold on. I got him. Hold on.
So there was no choir practice on the stage, people agreeing with everything. And the mixed audience was respectful, perhaps mesmerized because this is so rare. Intense issues delivered with good humor and insight. No partisan blather. I don't know where the Three Americans concept will lead. I do know it's an important display. Honest, robust debate laced with panache is very much needed in America. And the Three Americans delivered it. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. Gary, Bill, I do not agree with you about your comments on the midterm elections. There's no way the Democrats will succeed no matter what the state of the USA is in. Gary, you know, people believe what they want to believe. Do the head count in the House. Do the head count in the Senate. Razor thin. Economy goes down. Hello, Democrats. You don't have to believe it if you don't want, but the numbers are the numbers. Ronald, as for me, Hillary Clinton's irrelevant. Anyone who thinks what she has to say is meaningful and important doesn't have a grasp on the real world. Okay, I wrote my column. He said, she said. Hillary Clinton did a guest editorial in the New York Times, and I analyzed it. Yeah, she might be irrelevant, but she got a big platform. Kathy Desenroth, Elkhart, Indiana, this is concerning your message of the day on Vladimir Putin. Why should we send troops into Poland, expose ourselves to a war? Europe should be handling the problem. Kathy, you could be an isolationist if you want, but Europe can't stand up to Putin. Putin will do exactly what he wants to do. If you're okay with that, world will be in turmoil. Diane Williams, Wilmington, North Carolina, nice town. I have a liberal friend who's an accountant. He told me his wealthy clients did better than his poorer clients in regards to the last Trump tax cuts. Of course they did. They have more money. sort of cuts across the board. If you have more money and taxes are cut across the board, you're going to do better than somebody who doesn't have any money. Come on. It's all about fairness and stimulating the economy. In a moment, something you might not know. There is a growing real estate crime out there. The FBI calls it house stealing. Criminals forge your signature on one document, file it with a fake notary stamp. Just like that, your title's gone. Then criminals can take out loans or sell without you knowing. So, when is the last time you checked your home's title? Probably never. And the scammers know it. That's why I trust Home Title Lock's $1 million triple lock protection. You get 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if fraud does occur, they'll spend up to $1 million to restore your title at no added cost. Please go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code BILL250 now for a free title history report and access to your title expert. $250 value when you sign up. HomeTitleLock.com. Code BILL250.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit IronBearCustoms.com and mention Newstalk STL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention Newstalk STL for 10% off.
Love your couch but hate sinking into it? Custom Foam has your solution. We specialize in replacing your cushion foam with firmer options, firmer than anything you'll find in furniture stores, and a fraction of the cost of new furniture. Need extra firm support or soft cushioning for your back pillows? We have options you can test in person. From couches to window seats, dining chairs to custom projects. We'll have your furniture feeling like new in just a few days. We even offer same-day service. Visit custom-foam.com. That's custom-foam.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new Newstalk STL app.
Love the all-new Newstalk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the Newstalk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 41 years ago today, one of America's most popular singers was gunned down by his own father. The slaying ended a 25-year career that pioneered Motown music. Here is the story of Marvin Gaye. Born April 2nd, 1939 in Washington, D.C., young Marvin began performing at a local church. He soon recorded songs with Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, The Supremes. In 1971, Gaye was getting red hot in the music industry with the big hit, What's Going On?
To bring some loving here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs. Don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see.
Marvin Gaye's anti-war anthem hit number one. For the next decade, the singer released I Want You, Got to Give It Up, Let's Get It On, all big hits. Despite his successful career, Marvin Gaye struggled with substance abuse and depression. After a tour, he moved in with his parents in Los Angeles. There, he and his father fell into a pattern of violence. On April 1st, 1984, Gaye tried to stop his father from beating up his mother. After that quarrel, Marvin Gaye Sr., 70 years old, retrieved a .38 caliber revolver, walked toward his son, fired the weapon twice. The singer died instantly, just one day shy of his 45th birthday. And here's something else you might not know. Marvin Gaye Sr. pleaded no contest to the murder. He admitted it. He said he fired the shot, but he thought the gun was loaded with blanks, not plausible. However, the judge took pity on Marvin Gaye Sr. He gave him 6 years in prison and then suspended that sentence. So in the end, Marvin Gaye Sr., who murdered his son, served no prison time at all. Back after this. Bill O'Reilly here, emphasizing the importance of a safer alternative in threatening situations. Before using lethal force, consider the Burner Less Lethal Pistol Launcher, a device designed to incapacitate an attacker with tear gas and kinetic ammunition for up to 40 minutes, minimizing legal risks and permanent harm. We heard from a Burner user, Adam, who faced a road raging driver. Armed with his Burner launcher, Adam de-escalated the threat by aiming the laser right at the aggressor. That allowed him to safely wait for police intervention. That night, Burner not only prevented a potential tragedy, but also saved potential lives without causing physical harm. Burner is legal across all 50 states, with no background checks required. More than 500,000 units have been sold. Discover why so many choose Burner at byrna.com/bill to save 10%. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
It's a pretty simple concept.
It is clear to me.
Let me make this clear.
Big events.
Your news and your opinions.
We're going to get out there and be heard.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Our voices are never heard in the media. We, the people, will always find a way.
And it's about time that we start putting up or shutting up.
Yeah, and you should come. You should listen to many voices.
101.9 and 94.1.
Their phone lines have surely been burning up.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. 3 special elections today are in the national spotlight: a state Supreme Court contest in Wisconsin, plus 2 Florida elections to fill vacancies in Congress. In the Sunshine State's 6th District, State Senator Randy Fine is the GOP candidate. He tells Town Hall News his opponent is too radical for that Florida district.
He describes himself as a proud socialist whose first act will be to impeach Donald Trump. So that's what's on the line today with our thin House majority. Democrats are mad. Republicans feel great because Trump's winning. And we've had to explain to them how important this election is. But I'm optimistic. People are showing up. They're going to vote, and we're going to have a big night. But they got to go vote. They got to go vote right now.
Randy Fine is running to replace former Congressman Mike Waltz, who was tapped by President Trump as his White House National Security Advisor. Thousands of employees in the government's Health and Human Services Department are being laid off. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The layoffs are expected to affect up to 10,000 people, many of whom weren't notified until they showed up for work Tuesday morning and couldn't access their buildings. The cuts include researchers, scientists, doctors, support staff, and senior leaders at the National Institutes of Health, the Food and Drug Administration, and other agencies. Some senior-level NIH employees in the D.C. area were offered a possible transfer to Alaska and were given 48 hours to respond. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says she has directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty against Luigi Mangione, the man accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson outside a Manhattan hotel on December 4th. Bondi made the announcement on Tuesday. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 11 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Mostly cloudy tonight. Will drop to 56 degrees. A little bit breezy. Wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. Wednesday, it's going to be a cloudy day. Rain and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, mainly during the afternoon. Quite windy. Wind gusts could be as high as 40, maybe 45 miles per hour out of the south. That rain comes to an end Wednesday night. Overnight, will drop down to about 53 degrees under partly cloudy skies. And then more rain for Thursday. Not storms, just rain, but it is likely Thursday afternoon. The high temperature, 63 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, April 2nd, 2025, will go down as one of the most important days in modern American history. It's simple. If you make your product in America, you will pay no tariffs. We have already seen a number of the largest companies in the world respond to this economic approach. For example, Project Stargate, led by Japan-based SoftBank and US-based OpenAI, and Oracle, announced a $500 billion private investment in the United States-based artificial intelligence infrastructure.
406, and welcome to the April Fool's edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. I'm Chris Arps. Joey V, our great executive producer, is in the studio with me, and my good friend and co-host is in Studio Schroer in the Swamp in Jefferson City. He is the one and only speaker, Tim Jones.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'll have you know that the Senate Republicans are proposing a capital gains tax cut currently, and the Democrats are filibustering it. That's no joke, Chris, and all is right in the world.
Wow.
Republican issue, Democrat filibuster. things are currently normal in Jefferson City.
And we'll get into it, of course, later into the show. But Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey was putting on his own Senate filibuster, even though they're not calling that. They're calling it an extended speech. Last I checked him, he was going at 18 hours. And going, railing on the Trump administration and how lawless it is, of course, and how Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. Of course, I didn't take any of my time to watch any of it. That's what the reports are saying. And the really ironic thing about this, Tim, and as Speaker of the House, and you have people that work for you, and, you are the one where the focus is and what the policy should be. Senator Booker, of course, is putting on this 18-hour filibuster. I think part of it is trying to immerse himself as the leader of the Democratic Party and set himself up for 2028. But there was also a report that one of his staffers entered the Capitol with a gun and was arrested today. So it's like, look, your boss is doing something that's getting a lot of news. The last thing you want to do is step on it by bringing a gun to the Capitol. Now, Tim, there's also reports that Senator Booker waved this gentleman through security, knowing that he had the gun.
Chris, I thought Democrats despised the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms. Apparently, it's only just for their constituents and not for themselves.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do, or whatever it is. I'm getting a little George Bush tongue-tied there for a minute. But you all know.
Fool me once.
Exactly. Yeah. Fool me once, fool me, whatever. So
we don't get fooled again.
Before we get into the show, we got a big show today. David Stokes, of course, 424. We'll talk to him about the Missouri Show Me Act. We'll talk about the Clayton mayoral race. That is sparked by a ball field dispute. A lot to talk with Dave about. 445, we'll have Chris's Corner. I will speak on Donald Trump, some more news about him, more focused on the Democrats' strategy on how to defeat him. I've got some news on that. And then at 507, we will have the Speaker's Stump Speech, another special edition, right, Tim?
Yes, I figure we'll take advantage, Chris, of all these legislators running hither and yon under the Capitol dome. The Missouri House and Senate are having extended sessions now since we're in the session. So I thought we'd feature Senator Ben Brown, who happens to be my state senator. And Chris, he's working on a lot of issues near and dear to you. He has become kind of the electoral integrity expert. He's got a great piece of legislation he's already passed out of the Senate to eliminate foreign funding being involved in any Missouri election. Yeah, folks, right now, you can have foreign funding of our ballot initiatives. That's one of the reasons Amendment 3 passed. Ben's also working on tax cut legislation. He's working on a really important bill to him and his constituents regarding homeschool kids being able to participate in sporting activities. So he's got a great legislative portfolio. And so I thought we'd feature him today on the Stump Speech.
And Senator Brown was instrumental in getting the citizen-only voting amendment passed in the legislature, and the people, of course, approved that last November. Speaking of electoral issues, I will not be with you tomorrow. Tim will be solo because I will be testifying in front of a committee in the Little Rock legislature on non-citizen voting. Myself, Becky, and another part of our group, Americans for Citizen Voting, will be testifying before this committee. And so hopefully in 2026, Arkansas will have on their ballot to choose to change their constitution to say only U.S. citizens can vote. And I can report that Kansas, the state of Kansas, a couple of weeks ago, passed out of committee bill, it was passed. And so Kansans in 2026 will be voting on amending their state constitution as well. Look, I don't want to say that we are such great people that can get this thing passed. We were 8-0 last cycle, but this is really a common sense issue, Tim. It's like, come on, non-citizens, people here illegally, people with green cards, whatever, shouldn't be voting in our elections. Come on. But we still have an uphill battle to get it passed in a lot of places.
You do, because it's so commonsensical. The left hates it even the more so. And so you do always have to make an effort. It should be something that should just automatically happen. but it does not. So it requires folks like you and Becky and me and others to make these lifts all across the country. Chris, I got a guy for you to say hello to if you run into him. I think I've talked to you about him before. Arkansas State Representative David Ray, R-A-Y. David
I will
Ray.
look for him.
He is an up-and-comer. He's a legislator after my own heart. He's a big tax cutter. He absolutely supports your electoral integrity measures, and many believe that David has many more aspirations and ambitions, and he's a gentleman. He's a very humble guy. He's a good dude. He's a real legislator. He's very much like a Ben Brown, you know. And if you run into him, say hello. He's a great dude.
I will look for him and search him out tomorrow. Representative David Ray. I have written it down, and I will say hello, and maybe we can get him to be a listener of the show and use the app. Who knows?
Yes, sir. I think we can. Well, maybe we'll have to have him on sometime. No, he's
I'd
a
love
great
that.
guy, and they've got a pretty decent legislature down there. I'll have to say, you know, Arkansas used to be the butt of a lot of jokes, right, along with Mississippi and some of these other states. But these states now have very aggressive governors, like Tate Reeves in Mississippi, and like Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Right.
And oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. Becky just texted us, Chris.
Oh, okay.
David Ray is the sponsor of the bill.
Well, there you go. There you go.
You know what? I'm not surprised. He's a great guy. But yeah, Chris, they've got governors who lead the charge on electoral integrity and cutting taxes and making their states more prosperous for all citizens. And so, you know, Missouri, I like that Governor Kehoe has tried to hit the ground running with some of these aggressive measures at all. That's what it takes. I mean, otherwise the legislature, you leave the legislature up to their own endeavors, and a lot of times they'll just kind of wander in the wilderness like they have in Missouri for several years. And I like the fact that Governor Kehoe this year said, hey, we're going to fix this crime and public safety problem in St. Louis. And we did it. Next thing he's saying is we need to take a hard look at our really jumbled up tax system in Missouri. We've got all these carve outs and exemptions and loopholes. We still have a relatively high income tax rate compared to the other states around us. And so he's, you know, kind of turning his sights on that next.
Well, I will definitely meet Representative David Ray tomorrow, since he is the sponsor of our bill. So I get a picture with him, and we'll say hello to him. Speaking of the governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, her father, the former governor, Mike Huckabee, you know, he's in line to be the ambassador to Israel, and people are saying he's going to easily sail through and get that position. But just imagine, I mean, he's been a preacher, he's been a talk show host, he's been a governor. I mean, he is a strong evangelical. He doesn't shy away from that. This must be the absolute pinnacle of his career, of all of his achievements, to be the United States ambassador to Israel, especially with the capital, with the embassy being in Jerusalem.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I couldn't think of a better guy for it. And I'm so glad that such a staunch Christian man like he is going to be such an advocate in Israel. Chris, I heard Vic and Ken. You may have heard them talking about this morning as well. Chris, there's this really bizarre, horrible phenomenon going on amongst folks who claim to be on our side of the aisle, Christians who are bashing Israel and the Jewish people these days, right? You've got some really prominent people, and I don't understand it, and I think it's disgusting. I agree with Vic and Ken.
And here's what
I'm hoping.
Oh, go ahead,
yeah,
Tim.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Chris, I don't understand it. I think it's disgusting. And I don't care how big of a wheel you think you are in the conservative movement. I don't think that we should be hating on any group of people, much less the only beacon of democratic freedom and liberty in the Middle East.
Yeah, and you have people who Mark Levin and other Jews would call self-hating Jews. They are some of the groups, some of the people who are protesting against Israel and is wanting Israel to forfeit their security in order to give Palestinians land, in order to be able to be closer to kill them. You know, there are Judases within every demographic, every racial group. Hey, Tim, and at 5:24, we've got a first-time guest, but not new to St. Louis in a way. Some longtime viewers of local television news may remember the name Wendy Bell. She is currently the host of Wendy Bell Common Sense on Newsmax. Her show comes on every Saturday at 2:30 in the afternoon here. I have the privilege of appearing on there about every couple of weeks. And so she is a radio talk show host. She knows the business. She does TV. She has history here in St. Louis, Tim, and we will talk to her about some of the big headlines of the day. Really looking forward to speaking to her.
So cool. We have so many examples of Midwesterners, Missourians, St. Louisans who've gone to the Big Apple or to DC and become extremely prolific and prominent in the media scene.
And our good friend, Jamie Allman texted me earlier this afternoon saying that he knows Wendy Bell from her days of working here in television. So I want to make sure that I mention that. And, I'm going to ask Wendy Bell for our good friend Vic, see if she will do the Pledge of Allegiance for him. We will do that at the edge of the show so they can have Wendy Bell open the show one day.
He'll be over the moon if she does that. So. I bet Larry Connors knows Wendy too.
He probably does. She was on a show on the NBC affiliate. It was one of those lighthearted, I forgot to Show Me St. Louis or something like that. It was one of those lighthearted shows that they did, in the afternoon before the news. She was a reporter, either the host of that.
Cool.
And when
this is great.
And when I went on her show, it was like the first time I was like, man, I don't know what it is. It's just something about her name just sounds familiar. She kind of looks familiar to it. And a good friend of mine, Bill Costas, I'll go ahead and mention his name. He doesn't really probably to mind. He texted me that she was once in St. Louis, and he texted me a video of her on Show Me St. Louis doing a little. Joey's got it up on the screen right there.
Yeah, 1996 is
that
what
what
I'm seeing. Yeah. With John Pertzborn. Oh, look at the luscious of the hair he had.
And you know what? She honestly, she's aging well. I'm not trying to say she's old or anything, but she pretty much still looks the same as in that shot, too.
Yep. Some people just have that. They have those genetics, And
I hear you.
That's how they roll. Hey, I see Joey's got his another jersey that he bought at some grandma's garage sale. That one's really nice looking, though, Joey. Did you actually buy that one like off the rack, or where'd you get this one?
This blue sweatshirt was a Christmas gift, but I am wearing the St. Louis Cardinals jacket that I had on today. That is actually from the house that I am house sitting. Okay. And the people aren't home, and I'm just going through their closets, and I'm trying on different stuff and seeing what looks good on me. So don't tell them that I'm wearing all their clothes because they don't know.
And you've just told thousands of people that.
We got to change the subject. Blues play the Red Wings tonight.
All right. Hey, and our theme today, Joey?
Well, we got a new sponsor. You've heard them all over, but we got them now finally. Woods Basement Systems.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I think Jamie Allman did his first live read for them today. So I had you guys in the thumbnail saving some kittens and puppies from a flooded basement.
I see that. We're saving the animals.
They may be somebody that my wife and I may be calling, especially with spring coming up, because we have an issue where when it rains very, very heavily in our front there, it comes down into our basement and floods out every time. Not often, but only with heavy rains.
I think they can help you.
I think I'll be calling them.
Basementy.
I think I'm going to set the record here, Tim, as for using every.
You should get an award, Chris. You're like the most dedicated client in our entire staff for going to all of our advertisers.
Well, that either says I'm very dedicated or loyal, or man, you got issues, man, with every part of your life. Your car's breaking down, your house is breaking down. You need a will because you're getting old. I mean, man.
Well, Newsteaders is a good thing. You're buying nice things for your wife.
But most time, a lot of times for guys, they buy jewelry when they're in the doghouse, but I was not in the doghouse when I bought that. So, All right. Big show today. David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy, coming up. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Go home to mommy.
When it's over, so let's say it'll rain a sunny day. I know.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll drop to 56 degrees, a little bit breezy, wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. Wednesday, it's going to be a cloudy day. Rain and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, mainly during the afternoon. Quite windy. Wind gusts could be as high as 40, maybe 45 miles per hour out of the south. That rain comes to an end Wednesday night. Overnight, we'll drop down to about 53 degrees under partly cloudy skies. And then more rain for Thursday. Not storms, just rain, but it is likely Thursday afternoon. The high temperature, 63 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
What happens next?
Because of that Afghanistan withdrawal, we have damaged our credibility.
Happens right here.
He was texting war plans.
Nobody was texting war plans. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, I got to say, Chris uses this advertiser too, because we drink that water that we have here at this station. We drink it by the gallon. We've got the Topper drinking system at News Talk STL, courtesy of our good friend Everett Jones and Jones Air and Water. Jones Air and Water in general specializes in air and water treatment products and services that will enhance better, easier living in your home or in your business. And we can prove that to you because we've got both here at the station. We got the Topper drinking system, an unlimited supply of crystal clear reverse osmosis produced water. Water probably is the foundational building block of a good diet. As Everett always says, and his lovely daughter, the nutritionist, always corroborates, you got to drink a lot of water every day. You got to drink the right kind of water. Jones Air and Water can help you out with that. We've got a bunch of Jones Air and Water products in our Jones home. We have the Hydrotech H2O system. That's the double tank system that filters water for your entire home, softens it, cleans it, takes the impurities out, leaves all the good stuff in. And we have both a dehumidifier and a humidifier system. Yes, both of them do work in tandem with each other. I fired up the dehumidifier the other day because, the humidity is coming back here into the heartland here in the spring, and I try to keep our home at a constant level of humidity so we don't have those wild humidity swings. You know what happens with wild humidity swings? Everything in your home either contracts or expands. It's just a mess, right? And so you want to have a good constant humidity spread. Jones Air and Water can help you out with that as well. Swimming pool season is right around the corner. Thank goodness. Coming out of this cold, long, dark winter into what's been a pretty volatile spring, the EcoSmart swimming pool system that will clean the water in your pool without salt, without chlorine, without acidity. That sounds too good to be true, right? It's not. That is the EcoSmart system. You can get Everett out of your house to do that as well. And while he's there, have him do a radon check. Radon is something you can't see, you can't feel, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, but it's in a lot of our homes, especially our basements, especially older homes in the region. So have him do that as well. Basically, folks, anything and everything to make the air and the water better in your home or business, Jones Air and Water can do it. 5-star ratings, 30 years in the business. Why would you use anybody else? You shouldn't. JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. JonesWater.com, Jones Air and Water at JonesWater.com.
To our brave police officers and first responders, we say thank you for risking your lives to protect us. To all the incredible volunteers who've joined hands with the David Dorn Foundation to raise funds for equipment and services, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. We stand strong with our volunteers who give their time, talent, and dedication as a shield of support for those who rush into danger. The David Dorn Foundation gives a big thank you from our heart to yours. Visit dornfoundation.com and join as a volunteer.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
When you've been hurt in an accident, you need a law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, Onder Law has been winning for St. Louis. With over $5 billion in negotiated settlements and over $300 million in verdicts, Onder wins. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row, Onder wins. Whether it's settlements, verdicts, or awards, Onder wins. If you've been hurt in a car accident, trucking accident, or hurt on the job, Onder Law will get you the money you deserve. At Onder Law, winning is what we do. So when the stakes are high, Onder wins. Call us today for a free consultation. We don't get paid unless we win for you. Dial 314 or 6189 million. That's 314 or 6189, then all zeros. Or visit us online at onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Well over a year ago, WashU agreed to an 80-year land use agreement with Concordia to build multiple baseball and softball fields where the seminary's student housing currently sits. The land backs up to the Tuscany Park neighborhood. Neighbors fought the project tooth and nail, saying they opposed the increased traffic, lights, and noise they thought it would bring with it. WashU withdrew its plan.
The last thing we need is an athletic complex in a residential neighborhood that's been there for 100 years.
428 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And that song Joey played there, Rock the Casbah, Tim, took me back to my high school teenage days when the original teen nightclub Animal House was at 40 and Hanley. Our next guest, he's too young to remember that, but he is our municipal expert. And with municipal elections next Tuesday, he's the perfect person to have on.
David Stokes over at the Show Me Institute. In high school, you talk about spike. I had a very short spike. It was
I knew there's a spike somewhere in that stuff.
It wasn't very punky. It was more Leave It to Beaver-ish, maybe.
David Stokes, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Chris. Doing fine, Tim. I don't remember that place at Highway 40 in Hanley, even though I've always lived around there.
That
maybe
complex
it predates me by a little bit.
That area that's all developed, all that it was a big warehouse, Animal House, and it was torn down to make for the development that you see there. But the original Animal House, we're talking like 81, 82, 83 era. That's where the teen nightclub Animal House was. All right, Mr. Stokes, give us the skinny on this WashU University cancels plans for sports field thing. Is this a NIMBY situation, not in my backyard syndrome there in Clayton?
Absolutely. And the reason it's in the news now is it's the quintessential NIMBY activity. And this issue has been decided. Several months ago, WashU pulled the plans there after opposition to it. But it's in the news now because it's a major issue in the Clayton mayoral race, which is going to be decided 1 week from today. People are already voting on it, obviously, with one of the candidates being the one alderman who ardently opposed this, allowing WashU to do this. But here's why it's really the ultimate NIMBY activity, and why I think WashU should have had every right to do this. And they could have sued, and they would have won in court, but they chose not to for whatever reason. You got to remind people, I think zoning should be liberalized substantially. I think it should be easier to build homes, a lot of things. But I'm not throw out all zoning instantaneously. I'm trying to be sympathetic to people who've lived in an area in a long time and invested under certain rules. Like I try to listen to that and understand it. But this part of WashU and Concordia, like they were not seeking a zoning change. It had always been institutionally zoned. It's always been a college campus, WashU, Fontbonne, Concordia, the whole region right there near Wydown and Hanley. And so when you hear in the clip somebody says, why would you do this to damage a neighborhood that's been there for 100 years, which I think was exactly what somebody said in the clip, I might remind them that the colleges have been there for 100 years or more, and that they've always been zoned to be an institutional event. And if they want to build baseball fields on their own land, they should be allowed to. And in fact, they were allowed to. And what Clayton did was they tried to go halfway to try to appease some of the voters. And they sort of did a zoning overlay district, which would have, of course, allowed WashU and Concordia still to move forward with this, but just put some new rules and regulations on top of it. And I think Clayton went too far with that. But for whatever reason, WashU just decided to stop the project and not engage in this fight. Even though, had they taken it to court, I certainly think they would have won. But it's the classic sort of NIMBY, not in my backyard activity. And you see this a lot with zoning changes. And I once in a while, I have sympathy with the opponents, but generally, I think to myself, if you have the people who own that land, they have property rights too. And if they're doing something with their land that is reasonable, particularly in this case where they weren't even asking for a zoning change, or if the zoning change somebody is asking for is modest, I tried to sympathize. I tried to agree primarily with the property owners. And I think in defense of zoning, we've gone too far the other direction.
David, let me ask this, because we've had this dispute when it comes to entities not paying personal property tax because they're nonprofits. Can the residents say, hey, you don't pay taxes and everything, so take that into account when we say we don't want these ball fields?
Well, they can say that, but and that might have a political argument. But that's not a legal argument. Like they would have no legal position to make that. WashU or Concordia's rights under their land ownership aren't affected by whether or not they pay property taxes. As nonprofits, they don't pay property taxes, but that's not some special exemption for Washington University or Concordia or Fontbonne, which I guess is now gone, even though it's right there. I mean, those are just general rules exempting educational institutions of all types from property taxes. So it's a point politically that citizens can raise and very well might have, but I don't think it has any legal ground to stand on.
Tim, is he on there? I think he is he's going to reboot. So I got another question for you, Mr. Stokes. It seems like
that's what I'm here for.
It seems like it's a scandal a week, either in St. Louis County government, St. Louis city government. Latest scandal here. I guess I just want to ask you, as someone who watches municipal government closely and studies it, is it a conflict of interest for a auditor to work on the side for a business who is linked to a major city contractor? Is there a conflict there?
You're talking about the issue that's been raised in the St. Louis City Comptroller's office.
Yes, sir.
Where one of the key auditors in that office, not the elected official, but to be fair to Comptroller Green, not Comptroller Green, but one of her apparently top auditors had a side job doing tax work and auditing work for a company that's a major landowner and a major property owner investor in the city of St. Louis. Absolutely, it can be a conflict of interest. I remember years ago, the city of St. Louis city councilor's office, where they've got several dozen lawyers who do the legal work for the city of St. Louis. They cracked down on outside work from the city councilor's office because many of the lawyers in there had sort of their own small side law firms on the side, that they were doing their own legal work on the outside of being in the city councilor's office. And I think it was appropriate then that the city councilor's office cracked down on it and said, no, you're going to be a full-time lawyer for the city. And those lawyers are fairly well paid and not have this potential for a major conflict of interest by having side jobs as a lawyer as well. I think it would be completely appropriate for the comptroller, because I would have bet you a lot that these auditors in the comptroller's office are also fairly well compensated city employees and should be. But I think it'd be completely appropriate for them to crack down on outside work in the comptroller's office as well. You can't have you can't have one auditor auditing some city business or landowner or whatever on behalf of the city of St. Louis and then doing side work for them at the same time. That's a not good government, and I absolutely think limits on that are appropriate.
Tim, take the next two questions.
Yeah, David, I had this brilliant statement I made about the first conversation we had about the property ownership. And of course, nobody heard it because my mic went dead. But David, I was going to agree with you on the property tax aspect. I'm sorry, on the real estate property ownership issue. If people want to have control over property, then they need to buy it. They need to own it themselves. And there's these arguments all the time that people make. There was a famous law school case that we studied called moving to the nuisance. And the concept is this: if there is a hog, like this is the most extreme situation you could think of, right? So somebody owns a hog farm, right? They're a hog farmer. They've been hog farming for 70, 80 years. And then somebody decides to build a subdivision right next to the hog farm. And then the residents of the subdivision go, wow, it really smells around here. We got to shut down that hog farm. Sorry, you can't do that. That's called moving to the nuisance. So anyway, I loved your explanation on property rights, and I completely agree with it. On the other hand, David, I was going to ask you about when the government does silly things on public rights of way. I don't know if you've been following this at all or not, but we had Representative Ben Keithley on yesterday about how MoDOT was installing all these crazy curb bump out things on the shoulders. They were trying to do something with traffic control. They ended up creating a disaster because then they basically ruined the shoulder. So people couldn't pull off to the side. Emergency equipment was having problems. They couldn't shovel the streets properly. And Ben Keithley took on MoDOT and actually won. David, your comments on that and the fact that maybe MoDOT needs to have a little more general accountability. They tend to be kind of the fourth branch of government that nobody has any oversight over.
Absolutely. And that's an example out there in Clarkson that you can fight City Hall. And although it helps in this case to have politicians on your side in fighting City Hall, in this case, fighting MoDOT. And I was very happy to hear that MoDOT has properly changed their mind. They should have never started this project in the first place. This isn't a necessary transportation improvement to help move people from point A to point B. This was some sort of peculiar traffic calming operation, which had any effect but calming traffic, made things worse. Should have been experimented first in a very, very limited sense to see how it worked, and then had it worked, which it didn't, they could have gone forward with a major project. Instead, they just went forward throughout Clarkson Road, and I'm glad to hear they're stopping it. It's an important reminder, Tim and Chris, that engineers, particularly government engineers, don't always have it right. And you don't have to, as a citizen, step back and say, well, the engineers say they're the experts. We got to do exactly what they say, or just sit here and take it. No, you don't have to take it. And I'll never forget the similar example that I most remember. And I believe, Chris, you probably remember this from your time on the county council, when we were fighting, when University City residents, especially on the Loop, and businesses were fighting with the county over parking restrictions on Del Mar Boulevard. Mm-hmm. They had no parking from 4 to 6 to allow traffic to flow, but in the evenings. But as the businesses kept saying, because it was sort of an odd prohibition, you couldn't use the meters from 4 to 6. Inevitably, there was always one person who ignored it, got a ticket, and then blocked up the traffic anyway. And then they'd come out and they'd be livid that they got a ticket. So no traffic was actually being improved by this limit. You were just making customers and shoppers mad. And the businesses and people themselves along Del Mar wanted the restriction to go away. And finally, the county highway department relented. And I will tell you, as a resident of that area, that nothing got worse when they removed those restrictions. It stayed just the same. And it was an example of engineers aren't always right. And you don't have to just sit back and take their word for it just because you're not an engineer. You can fight City Hall. You can fight MoDOT. And I was excited to see the decision there on Clarkson Road.
Mm-hmm. And David, I would also love to have your thoughts on whether or not the city of St. Louis might be experiencing a little bit of a potential renaissance in its public policy and its direction. I know you do public policy, not politics. There is an election next week, but there's also been some change in public policy, David, as you know, happens very slowly, sometimes to the point where we don't quite see that there is a change in direction happening. Well, over the last couple of years, the embattled city of St. Louis prosecutor, the former prosecutor, Kim Gardner, was replaced. I've heard nothing but positive things about her successor, Gabe Gore. The congresswoman, the very volatile congresswoman largely for that reason, Cori Bush, has been replaced. I have heard nothing but more positive things about Wesley Bell. Let's not be deceived. Kara Spencer, if she beats Tashara Jones next week, is not going to come in with a center-right public policy agenda, but maybe she'll do the simple things better, like trash and fixing potholes and working on crime and economic development. David, do you think these things are changes in the right direction for the city of St. Louis? Might it have hit rock bottom like Detroit did a few years ago, and might they be heading in a different direction, perhaps?
They might have, and I hope they are. And I think you sort of hit on the key hope is that nobody should expect Alderwoman Spencer, should she win and be the next Mayor Spencer, to govern in some sort of a conservative manner. But I think you can hope, and she has discussed in her campaign, that she wants to focus on the basics. And that would be fantastic. I think that's not only is that, one way to look at it is the best you could hope for, but that's sort of underplaying it, because that's a lot to hope for in local government, is local officials who really, there's the old saying, there's no Republican or Democrat way to fix a pothole. And there's some truth to that, in that at the local government level, you can't just focus on the most basic services, quality police, protection, and what we desperately need is more police, good fire protection, paving the roads, fixing the potholes, getting the trash picked up, a few other, getting licenses like business licenses turned around quickly so that businesses don't have to waste a lot of time and effort doing sort of bureaucratic red tape. Even if you have it, you can do it quickly for them. So those sort of basic things, if you can get a handle on them and do those far better than they've been done in the city of St. Louis for the past couple of years, then I think voters of all stripes, from progressive to mainstream Democrats, of which there are plenty in the city, to centrist and independents and Republicans, everybody can agree on that. And that's a lot of city government. And I think Mayor Slay, not to hold out just one example, did a good job with much of that. And that's why he was returned to office enthusiastically many times, because he, to a large extent, I think, did focus on the basics. And I think Mayor Harmon before him and Mayor Cruzen after him also did some of that to some extent. I think for a long time, the city of St. Louis had a pretty good mayor. It is hard a job as that can be. And I'd hope the city of St. Louis can get back to that.
David, when Brenda Talent replaced you a couple of weeks ago, I told her what an excellent job that you do every week. And I suggested to her that she give you a raise. Just an update. Have you gotten that raise?
I've not gotten that raise. I did not know you made that.
I did publicly.
I will make a point of bringing that up in our next staff meeting.
You may want to follow up on that.
I will. Making a note to myself, it's going to be an uncomfortable for staff meeting for all involved, be they Brenda, myself, or our coworkers, who are wondering why prominent media personalities are demanding raises for me. But nonetheless, I appreciate the support.
Oh, we go back a long ways, my friend. Anything I can do. Want to make sure
I appreciate it.
Want to make sure the kids can get their polo lessons this spring.
Water polo. It's just water polo.
Oh, water polo. I'm sorry.
It's much less expensive.
Got it. All right, David. Thank you, my friend. We'll speak with you again next week. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Tim. Talk to you guys.
No problem. All right,
Thanks,
Chris's
David.
Corner coming up. Tim will discuss some of how the resistance is resisting Donald Trump, and we'll talk about the big elections happening today and big news from Pam Bondi. She made an announcement regarding the killer of the United Health Group president. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
You know, there's the old saying, there's no Republican or Democrat way to fix a pothole.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll drop to 56 degrees, a little bit breezy, wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. Wednesday, it's going to be a cloudy day. Rain and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, mainly during the afternoon. Quite windy. Wind gusts could be as high as 40, maybe 45 miles per hour out of the south. That rain comes to an end Wednesday night. Overnight, we'll drop down to about 53 degrees under partly cloudy skies. And then more rain for Thursday. Not storms, just rain, but it is likely Thursday afternoon. The high temperature, 63 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
You know, millennial Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
Hey, it's spring, right? I mentioned that earlier. That means it's time to make sure that your sprinkler system, your irrigation system, as we say, is up to snuff. I've got the one-stop shop for you for all of your outdoor irrigation needs and much more. Hydrodynamics Core, hydrodynamicscore.com. Why should you contact and utilize Hydrodynamics Core? Well, they've only been in business for over 52 years, since 1973, being the first commercial and residential lawn irrigation company in St. Louis. They have been busting their tails, making sure that lawns and business properties are absolutely beautiful all across our region and beyond. They have a huge service region, by the way. This time of year, you need to be activating your systems. That system activation and that annual backflow testing of your sprinkler systems, of your irrigation systems, is vital. Trust me, a little time, attention, and treasure invested now will save you over the season and the long term. Hydrodynamics Core, they've got the knowledge, they got the experience, they've got the parts, they've got the know-how to make sure your system is completely up to snuff. It makes a big difference between having a lawn that looks kind of like and a lawn that looks like spectacular. Hydrodynamicscore.com. Premium turf management includes their fertilization systems that they have as well. They're also getting, and I'm gonna be digging into some of this stuff with them. I need to do a little work around my Jones home. Outdoor lighting, drainage solutions, and hardscaping. What the heck's hardscaping? Well, that would be like your retaining walls, patios, walkways, edging, outdoor fireplaces, making the outdoor spaces that you all have if you own a home so much better and more livable. Use that outdoor space. It's part of your biggest asset for most of us, your homestead, right? So, don't just live in the home, live outside the home on the beautiful grounds that you have. They also specialize in creating ponds and waterfalls and fountains. They do it all, from sprinkler systems with that very vital system activation and annual backflow testing to all the other things I mentioned. Everything's available. Hydrodynamicscore.com. Do what I do. Contact hydrodynamicscore.com. Hydrodynamicscore.com.
Tired of floors that don't stand up to real life? Hometown Floors has the solution. With 40 years of experience, they know floors. 100% made in the USA. Luxury vinyl, laminate carpet, pet-friendly, and built to last. Free in-home estimates, professional installation, and satisfaction guaranteed. Hometown Floors, making small business great again. Check us out at hometownfloorsonline.com. Hungry for lunch? Head to Pop's Kitchen downtown. Monday through Thursday, 11 to 2. Grab our unbeatable $7.99 lunch special with fries. Choose from juicy cheeseburgers, Philly steak or chicken, 6-piece wings, 2-piece fish of your choice, or a savory gyro sandwich. Pop's Kitchen downtown, 1330 Washington Avenue, where good food meets great value. Order online at popskitchendowntownsTL.com. That's popskitchendowntownsTL.com.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airwaves for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says pursue the death penalty against Luigi Mangione. Is that justice or politics? We're talking about it on Wednesday.
Morning starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
You were the sunshine, baby, whenever you smile, but I call you stormy today.
Tried, this article assumes, and I guess they did try. They found a way around the parliamentarian. They found a way around the rules of the Senate. They found a way around the ideals of reconciliation and the Byrd rule. They are deciding that the way we're going to do this is break the Senate and make up our own rules. This is how they're going to get a bill through that gives $1 trillion of tax cuts to the wealthiest in our country who are doing very well. Let's not hate on other Americans. I celebrate success. God bless you. But you don't need tax cuts, especially not that are going to be given to you on the backs of the poor, on the backs of our elders, on the backs of our children, on the backs of expectant mothers, on the backs of my mom's, your mom's Social Security. What does it say about our values and our priorities to allow that to happen? Who are we, America, if you don't think this is a moral moment where the character of our country...
4:54 on the Tim Jones Chris Arps Show. That is Senator Cory Booker. I think he's on hour 20, Tim, if I'm calculating correctly, on his filibuster. And the sad thing there, that little clip that we heard that was live, is the same Democratic playbook they use over and over and over. Was there anything in that little 30-second clip, Tim, that you have not heard before?
Chris, that sounds like the commercials they ran 12 years ago in whatever election that would have been. You know, they attacked Paul Ryan when he dared to talk about touching the third rail of Social Security and Medicaid, because those systems are largely bankrupt, right? They're being run on borrowed and printed money. And we'd love them to be there for the people that really need them. And at some point, we're going to have to take on that. But anyway, anytime, anybody, anywhere in government threatens a dime of federal spending, whether it's proper, improper, or somewhere in between, yes, Chris, the Democrats talk about throwing Granny off the cliff, putting the poor and the children out in the cold. It's the same tired talking points. The problem is it's emotional. It tugs at people's heartstrings, and a lot of people ignorantly actually believe it.
All right, let's do a little follow-up to this story on Chris's Corner, Joey.
Chris's Corner is brought to you by Elite Comfort Experts. Call 636-887-0971 or EliteComfortExperts.com.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
And of course, today's Chris's Corner is brought to you by EliteComfortSystems.com. All right, this is from National Review regarding Cory Booker and his staffer. Capitol Police arrested one of Senator Cory Booker's staffers on Monday evening for carrying a pistol without a license on Capitol grounds. The arrest occurred as the New Jersey lawmaker began a nearly now 20-hour-long floor speech in opposition to President Donald Trump. The staffer, identified by police as 59-year-old Kevin Batts, was arrested after authorities learned outside of the Senate galleries that he was armed. Booker reportedly guided Batts around security screening earlier on Monday. Here's the statement from the Capitol Police. Quote, yesterday afternoon, a member of Congress led an ID'd staff member around security screening at the Hart Senate office building. Later that evening, outside the Senate galleries, the ID'd staff member, who is retired law enforcement officer, told our officers he was armed, a Capitol Police spokesman said on Tuesday. Now, I think Cory Booker has some serious explaining to do on why he waved this person around security. Everyone knows you're not supposed to have a weapon on Capitol Hill, and that is Chris's Corner. We have the Speaker Stump Speech 507, and at 524, we'll speak with Wendy Bell, host of the Wendy Bell Common Sense Show on Newsmax. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
And my world is cloudy.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This is Elizabeth Kaiser. You want to give your dog the healthiest, tastiest, all-natural dog food and treats they'll beg for? 3 Raw Hounds, a company right here in our own backyard out of Wildwood, Missouri. Quality raw food and treats for dogs, all with USDA inspected ingredients. If you want the best for your dog, I know I do, visit 3 Raw Hounds. 3 is the number 3, rawhounds.com. Add the code STRAIGHTLINES to get 10% off your order. The number 3, rawhounds.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019 94.1 and always streaming at News Talk STL.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Wisconsin voters head to the polls today in a closely watched election for a seat on the state's Supreme Court, which has national implications for the future of President Trump's legislative agenda. Former Wisconsin Attorney General Brad Schimmel is the conservative candidate for the Supreme Court.
My opponent went out and promised she was going to engage in congressional map redistricting, which would result in, she said, 2 Republican congressional seats turning Democrat. That's the danger, because you take out 2 Republican congressional districts and suddenly now you have at the national level, President Trump doesn't have any majority behind him. They see a great opportunity to change not just Wisconsin politics, but American politics.
Polling places in Wisconsin will be opened until 7 p.m. local time tonight. Spending in the hotly contested Supreme Court race is expected to exceed $100 million. President Trump will unveil a new set of tariffs tomorrow with the goal of boosting products made in America. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
CEOs, Wall Street investors, and everyday consumers are bracing for the impact of new taxes on imports from other countries. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt predicts the president's action
will improve American competitiveness in every area of industry, reduce our massive trade deficits, and ultimately protect our economic and national security.
The president unveils his sweeping tariffs at a Rose Garden ceremony Wednesday afternoon. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Forecasters are warning of potentially deadly flash flooding and strong tornadoes in coming days from a new round of storms. Waves of thunderstorms are poised to strike parts of the Midwest and South later this week. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 11 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
You want to give your dogs the very best. No matter what they're eating, you should add Dr. Phytos to every bite. Just sit back and watch them lick their bowl clean, knowing they are getting 40 carefully selected ingredients made from whole foods, spices, and fibers from bananas to sweet potatoes. Vet developed, dog trusted. This is the human-grade dog food topper that gives you peace of mind. Go to drphytos.com and subscribe to save $20 each month. That's DRPHYTOS.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Mostly cloudy tonight. Will drop to 56 degrees. A little bit breezy. Wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. Wednesday, it's going to be a cloudy day. Rain and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, mainly during the afternoon. Quite windy. Wind gusts could be as high as 40, maybe 45 miles per hour out of the south. That rain comes to an end Wednesday night. Overnight, will drop down to about 53 degrees under partly cloudy skies. And then more rain for Thursday. Not storms, just rain, but it is likely Thursday afternoon. The high temperature, 63 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Jewels on Hampton, paying some of the highest prices for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Call 314-752-5000 or visit jewelsonhampton.com.
Psst. Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere. And we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery at all 3 Steph's Pizza locations. In Lake St. Louis at 111 Potterford Trail, St. Peter's on Juggerman, and in St. Charles on Zumbel. Check us out at Steph'sPizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
Michaels Flooring Outlet is sending out an SOS. We're expanding fast and need your help. We need a flooring warehouse expert pronto. We need a flooring scheduler just as fast. Join our growing team at Michaels Flooring Outlet with locations in St. Peter's, Darden Prairie, and Creve Coeur. Don't wait. Visit michaelsflooringoutlet.com and click on careers today. Michaels Flooring Outlet, where great floors begin with great people.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are. And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Who decides
That's the fundamental question. Who gets to make the call? Is it the guy whose name was on the ballot, or is it some bureaucrat? Is it the guy who got 77 million votes, or some district judge? The left always says, trust the bureaucrat, trust the judge. It's the Faucis, it's the Boasbergs who get to make the call. After all, they're the experts. They're smarter than we, the people. They're smarter than all us hillbillies in flyover country who voted for President Trump. Trust them.
506 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Tim, what we're seeing here, I believe, the battle that is ultimately going to end up in the Supreme Court is, does the chief executive of the United States, the president, does he have the right to hire and fire people within the executive branch? And why are groups within the executive group, the bureaucracy that lasts far beyond the politician's tenure, why are they the ones writing laws and enacting their own laws beyond the legislative branch and beyond the president's reach?
Yeah, Chris, that is the philosophical question of our time on many of these issues. Our next guest, who's going to be featured in the Speaker's Stump Speech, it's one of the reasons why he got into politics and public policy in the first place. It was the question of, do the elected representatives of the people get to call the shots, whether you're in an emergency situation like COVID or not, or in just regular times, or as you said, Chris, do the bureaucrats who aren't elected by anyone, who get to apparently stay forever, get to call the shots? There's been a real awakening in America and in Missouri on that subject.
And I'm looking at Joey's screen, and I see that handsome young man there sitting next to you, Senator Ben Brown. I've gotten to know him over the last year or so. We worked on non-citizen voting here in Missouri, he and my wife, with American citizen voting. So I am eagerly anticipating our conversation with him, Tim.
Absolutely, indeed. Hey, Joey, let's get to it. Senator Ben Brown is the featured subject of today's Speaker's Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Not only is he a state senator here in the state of Missouri, he is my senator in the 26th Senatorial District. His name is Ben Brown, and as Chris mentioned, he's been at the center of a lot of the major discussions dealing with electoral integrity and many other issues. Thankfully, the Senate is in a recess right now, so Ben was able to literally come off of the Senate floor. He was in some negotiations with the Democrats and some other Republican leaders on a capital gains tax cut bill, which is a great piece of legislation. Ben's working on a lot of other items as well. Senator Ben, welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Thanks, Tim. Great to be back. Chris, good to see you.
Good
even
seeing
from
you,
a
sir.
distance.
Good seeing you
Always
as
a
always.
pleasure.
Absolutely. Ben, before we get to what's going on the Senate floor today, let's talk about a victory that you and the Republican supermajority in the Senate had last week. Another electoral integrity bill that you took up the fight for. We saw, Ben, and I love the fact that you are a problem solver. You don't just file legislation with, that doesn't have a purpose. That is just, from some lobbyist or special interest group. You try to tackle problems. And Ben, last year with the Amendment 3 battle, we saw millions of dollars flow in, not just from outside the state of Missouri, but outside the country. You and I talked about this. We educated ourselves on this. Ben, it's shocking how many millions of dollars flow into Missouri from out of country left-wing billionaires, isn't it?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And out of all the millions and millions of dollars that pour into this country, Missouri actually ranks number 3.
You're kidding me.
So we have the third most foreign dollars coming into our country to influence and change our Constitution. And it's worse than that. You have groups like, for instance, the 1630 Fund. Their primary donor is a man by the name of Hans-Jörg Wyss, if I'm not butchering that too terribly. And this man has put in over $500 million to 1630 Fund and other groups whose sole purpose is to amend constitutions in states around the country. This is a man who has publicly stated that he has zero interest in ever becoming an American citizen. And in a biography,
He's like the Swiss George Soros, right?
Exactly. And in a biography actually written by his own sister, he was quoted as saying that his life's goal is to, quote unquote, reimagine the U.S. Constitution in the light of progressive politics.
Oh, yikes.
So that is what we must prevent. Missouri is a top target because we have a Republican supermajority. They're not going to get these progressive policies through any other way. And they are able to essentially purchase an amendment to our Constitution because with enough money, you can get anything. You launch a misinformation marketing campaign, target the 2 largest population centers in our state, and you can buy enough votes to pass pretty much anything. Well, that ends now. This bill, Senate Bill 152, passed the Senate. Like you said, it took many days, some very intense negotiations. But I was even able to get a few of the Democrats to come on board and support this because, it goes both ways. We might not always have a Republican supermajority, and it could be flipped in the future. And, it is a, winning issue also. Over 50% of the population support banning foreign funding, including over 50 or 80% of Democrats.
Wow.
And so, I was able to, took a lot of work, a little arm twisting, but, over the course of several days, was able to get them to a place where they weren't going to stand and filibuster, and even was able to bring a couple of them on board and vote in support of the bill.
It's amazing. Good job.
Senator, as you know, dealing with citizen-only voting, a lot of the feedback that you get is, well, this is already illegal. Why do we need something like this? I think a lot of people would say the same thing regarding foreign money in our elections. A lot of people's understanding it's already illegal for a foreigner to invest in our elections. How are they circumventing the law? How is this gentleman circumventing the law to do this?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. And that's a very interesting piece of history here, actually, because it was unlawful for any foreign national to donate to even ballot measures up until 1995. In 1995, there was a Supreme Court ruling, and one of the inadvertent consequences of that ruling was that the term elections was at that point redefined as only pertaining to candidates. And so by redefining the term elections, because prior to that, it was all elections. It was limited to only candidates, and that created this large loophole to where foreign money, people that wanted to use their resources and vast wealth to influence American politics, then had a legal loophole to start pouring money in, maybe not to support an individual candidate, but certainly to support particular issues. And they've been meddling ever since, and it has just grown and grown over time. And we're really at the breaking point. We've seen over the last several election cycles this happening. And if we don't do something about it now, then we're going to be past the point of no return. They can get pretty much anything they want in the Constitution. And as you and I know Tim knows, as the former Speaker of the Missouri House, it is extremely difficult to change something once it's in the Constitution, even if you are in the legislature. So I was very pleased to get this through. I partnered with Representative Ben Baker, who was the House sponsor of what became Amendment 7 that we passed last year. We've worked extremely well together. I've talked with leadership over on the House side, and they've expressed strong support. So, all signs point to this moving, and, I fully expect for this to end up on the governor's desk by the end of the session. And I think this is, an absolute game changer for the state of Missouri, and I cannot overstate that enough.
And Ben, before we leave this subject, I know that there's continued efforts on the citizen-led, so-called citizen-led, it's become billionaire-led initiative petition process in general. But with a new leadership team in the Senate, you all have had your hands full this year because conservative priorities are actually moving this year in the Senate. Will you go back and look at our initiative petition process next year? I know you actually filed bills and you've moved some bills on this. It seems like maybe they may have to wait till next year. So whether it's this year or next year, Ben, are you still determined that we have to make some systematic changes to that process?
I am. And, I'm not giving up on passing another aspect of initiative petition reform, though I believe that this bill that we passed, I believe this perhaps is the most effective
part of it, right?
form of initiative petition reform. As you know, that it's taken many forms whether that means changing the threshold of votes required to amend the Constitution, or having some kind of concurrent majority where it's not just a statewide 50% plus one. The bill I filed required 50% plus one in a majority of House districts. And I partnered with Senators Jill Carter and Mike Moon, who also filed similar legislation. We rolled our bills together, found a place where we took pieces of each, put together a really good package, includes a ban on foreign funding, kind of a sort of an abbreviated version of the statutory bill that I just recently passed out of the Senate. And so, if we are able to get both of those through, I think cutting off the money is really cutting the head off the snake. But if we really want to solidify this thing up, we get a concurrent majority requirement. And man, we're going to have some of the strongest protections against foreign influence on our Constitution amongst like any of the states across the country.
Senator Brown, the big news in the legislature this session is not so much any particular bill or bills that are being passed. It's that there has been cooperation in the Senate. What do you attribute that to, being a member of that august body?
Well, a number of different things. And I don't think you could really isolate on the one specific thing. We have new people. A lot of new people came in. There was a lot of turnover, and you got a lot of fresh blood. I remember what it was like my first year in here. I had no interest in some of the rivalries and grudges due to things that happened before I was even there. I worked extremely hard to win my election. I put as much work into that as anything I've ever done in my life. And I didn't do that to come here and, be a part of some bitter rivalry or political games. I was here I took it as a serious job, wanted to get serious things done. I think that a lot of the new people share that same sentiment. We have a change in leadership. I think that's been very helpful. People that are, you're never going to have a leadership team that you agree with 100% of the time, but they're at least, willing to move conservative priorities, willing to commit to giving it the time on the floor. And so that's created a dynamic where you have more of a unified Republican Party. And this year, the dynamic is more Republicans versus Democrats versus years past, where it was just different factions of the Republican Party just going at each other.
Indeed. Senator, we mentioned earlier, took a break from, the whole Senate has taken a break right now from a debate on tax policy. That always gets the Republicans excited and the Democrats up in arms. There's been a bit of a mini Democratic filibuster going on today. They're working on a capital gains cut tax, and I know you support that and you'll vote for that, but we need to look a little bigger, don't we, Ben? We need to look at what's going on, not only in our region, but kind of the broader Midwest, right? There's a bit of a Midwest renaissance on tax policy. Would you explain what you've discovered and what you hope we eventually get to, whether it's this year or next year, on kind of a broader based tax relief and tax reform for all Missourians?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I obviously can't go into the state of negotiations with the current bill right now. Those are still ongoing, but I filed a bill, Senate Joint Resolution 30, that would completely phase out the income tax in the state of Missouri.
Something the governor's called for.
Yes, absolutely. He's named it as one of his top priorities. And, I decided I wanted to be someone that was leading the charge on that. I've chaired the committee that handles all tax policy. This is my second year in that role. I've learned a tremendous amount, and really just studying and learning from what other states have done is something that I think is essential to ensure that Missouri is competitive. You look at growth migration trends, and 3 out of the top 5 of the top growth states have zero income tax. 4 of the top 7. And if you break that down to just Missouri and our bordering states, just to see how we're doing compared to our direct competition in the region, Missouri is in 6th place in the terms of lowest income tax when it comes to Missouri and our bordering states. Out of the 5 states that are ahead of us, all 5 are the same 5 states that have lower income tax. Isn't that interesting? Out of the 3 states that are lagging behind us in growth, they're actually losing population. All 3 are the 3 states that have a higher income tax rate. There's old saying that correlation doesn't always mean causality, but at some point, the numbers are undeniable. This is something that has to be done. You hear people on the other side, they complain about, we're going to have all these major funding problems in the future. Like, we got to be careful about doing this. But the only way we get past those problems is to grow our way out. And if we're not willing to really take the leap and become a true leader in our region, then we're all we can do is delay the inevitable. But if we stand up, we're willing to take the lead and make bold moves like this, then we can position ourselves better amongst like some of the top states in the country.
And that is Senator Ben Brown, senator from the District 26, there with Tim and Studio Schroer in the swamp. I said swamp. In the swamp. Tim, you got any final words? I think we lost him there again. All right. When we come back, we will speak with Wendy Bell, host of Wendy Bell Common Sense Show on Newsmax on Saturday afternoons. I have the pleasure and honor of appearing on her show from time to time. We'll get her views on all the major headlines and talk about her connection to St. Louis. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Up on Cripple Creek, and she sends me in my spring a leak. She bends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream if I ever did see.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
I liked beer. I still like beer.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Mostly cloudy tonight. Will drop to 56 degrees. A little bit breezy. Wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. Wednesday, it's going to be a cloudy day. Rain and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, mainly during the afternoon. Quite windy. Wind gusts could be as high as 40, maybe 45 miles per hour out of the south. That rain comes to an end Wednesday night. Overnight, we'll drop down to about 53 degrees under partly cloudy skies. And then more rain for Thursday. Not storms, just rain, but it is likely Thursday afternoon. The high temperature, 63 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunderstealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL.
You heard that weather forecast there. There are financial storms on the horizon as well. And if you are like most people looking at your money a little closer and you'd like to have it a little closer to home, may I suggest you check out my friends over at Royal Banks of Missouri. They are a full-service, locally owned and operated independent community bank that has been around since 1964. Royal Banks has some of the highest financial ratings in St. Louis for stability and strength. I bet you there's one right around the corner from you. They have 17 convenient banking locations throughout the St. Louis area. They even have locations up in Northeast Missouri in Hannibal and Rawls County. Even have locations across the river in Illinois, in Jerseyville and Granite City, as well as 2 locations in St. Charles. Royal Banks also have over 200 ATMs across the Midwest to give you free access to ATM transactions and withdrawals. You don't hear that much very often. Royal Banks also offers convenient interactive teller machines, or their ITMs, that will connect you with a banker virtually and in real time while you're in your car. As a customer, you'll find their personal service is second to none. Their full range of financial services includes products covering all of your personal and business needs. You need an auto loan, you need a home mortgage loan, they've got you. They've got online and mobile banking, plus wealth management services as well. Learn more by visiting them on the web at royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank for your community.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-pressure colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Basement with a Y. That's Basement E.
It's Basement T.
Basement E?
It's Basement T.
Oh, Basement T. Basement T. I get it. That's the basement waterproofing and foundation repair experts at Woods Basement Systems.
Right. The All Things Basement Tea experts at Woods Basement Systems will provide you a free estimate and dry up that wet basement and fix that cracked foundation. Call 800-388-9326 or go online to woodsbasementsystems.com.
That's woodsbasementsystems.com.
President Trump is making big changes at the Department of Education. How will this impact Missouri schools? Find out at the Show Me Education Town Hall, April 3rd, 6 to 8 p.m. at the DePere Lodge. Get legislative updates, meet with school board candidates, learn how we can all work together at all levels of government to raise test scores and improve outcomes for all Missouri students. Be an informed voter on these important issues. Don't miss this event, April 3rd, 6 to 8 p.m., DePere Lodge. All details at newstalkstl.com. We'll see you there.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
We just got this release from the U.S. Justice Department moments ago. I want to read to you part of it coming from Attorney General Pamela Bondi's office. It says, quote, Luigi Mangione's murder of Brian Thompson, an innocent man and father of 2 young children, was a premeditated, cold-blooded assassination that shocked America. After careful consideration, I've directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty in this case as we carry out President Trump's agenda to stop violent crime and make America safe again.
528 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Tim, if you'll remember, not only was this a absolutely heinous crime, but afterwards you had liberals that were cheerleading for this man, and you had women sending him marriage proposals. I mean, talk about bizarre.
Yeah, he's kind of he bears a little bit of a resemblance to producer Joey V. You know, it's like the ladies just throwing themselves at his feet all the time. I don't know. So.
You know, every time I go to Great Clips, I do ask the lady, can you trim up my eyebrows a little bit? I think if I just let them go bushy, I'd be able to sign autographs as a Luigi impersonator.
Don't do that. You look like J.R. Ewing from Dallas. All right. I'm very excited to have on our next guest. She is Wendy Bell, host of the Wendy Bell Common Sense Show on Newsmax. She is a radio talk show herself. I get to now interrogate her for 10 or 12 minutes, 15 minutes. Wendy, how are you, my friend?
Oh, my gosh, it's great to hear your voice. How are you, gentlemen? How is the Gateway City?
We're doing fantastic. Right. We're dodging bullets.
I love it there. It's my home away from home, guys.
Well, Wendy, that's what I want to get into. Before we get to the headlines of the day, you have a St. Louis connection, and I've been told to say hello to you from an old TV guy, Jamie Allman, who now has a show on our radio station. He's a talk show host now, so he wanted to give you a shout out. He remembers you from back in the day. But before we get to the headlines, tell people your connection to St. Louis.
You know, I started there. I started working there when I was straight out of graduate school. I'd gotten one job on national television, hated New York, got a wonderful job from Show Me St. Louis. And I was so excited to be one of the first of 2 reporters there. And I worked there for several years, met my husband in St. Louis. He went to SLU Medical School. His whole family was from St. Louis, and we bounced out of there and came to Pittsburgh. But I don't think there is a more special city to me. The Fox Theater, all of the things going on the waterfront, all of it. I loved it, and it was the best place to be. So I'm envious of you gentlemen.
Wendy, I tell you, I got to be honest. I could tell that because when you would introduce me, you would have a special little, and Chris Arch from St. Louis. Like, man, okay, Wendy likes St. Louis, I guess. I don't know. All right, Tim,
Maybe
go
I
ahead.
just like you.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, then there's that.
Wendy, it's an honor and privilege to speak with you today. Thanks so much for joining us. You and I have a lot of bizarre connections. I spent 10 years of my life in New York. I went to school up there and practiced law for a while. And I have family. I have a ton of family in the Pittsburgh region, where I think you're kind of based out of now.
Yes, sir.
Pennsylvania, Wendy, Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, was critical in the last election. It continues to be a major battleground state. What was it, though, do you think, that made Pittsburgh move slightly to the right versus it moving to the left like it has over the last couple cycles?
The July execution attempt on President Trump's life. Yeah. Pittsburgh is very similar to St. Louis. You have cities that are intertwined in the rivers. You have cities that are made by blue collar work, by union work, by labor and steel. You have history there. You have phenomenal native history there. And I think that a lot of these cities, and yours is the same, they really ventured off the path and fell into a Democrat stronghold. And Pittsburgh is now, and it's really a shame to see how it's fallen apart. I hope St. Louis hasn't gone the same way, but it's very sad to see what happens to a beautiful city when Democrats come in and take over, because there is no leadership, there is no mission, there is no plan, there is no exceptionalism, and it really does take a toll, particularly on the young people.
Wendy, I just have to say one name to you, and it'll give you a kind of a gauge of how far St. Louis has gone down. Cori Bush.
Hey man, we've got a socialist county executive that just jacked up our property taxes 36%. But when I drive home on the Parkway, similar to Highway 40, 270, any of that stuff, it's dead deer after dead deer, the carcass, fiesta, and then more garbage. It's an embarrassment. Yes, you do have a piece of work. You did have a piece of work in Cori Bush. We have what's her face, Summer, whatever, Lee. So you want to go toe to toe? Neither of us has Hank Johnson.
Exactly.
So we're all doing better.
Exactly. Wendy, the big news today, of course, are the elections in Florida and the Supreme Court elections in Wisconsin. Look, the Democrats have put a lot of money, especially in this race. Randy Fine, he's been outraised $9 million to $1 million. The Democrats are hoping that if these races are close, that's some type of barometer on Donald Trump's leadership. Your thoughts on that? And you should make a race close when you're outspending someone 9-1, right?
Right. Well, it's interesting when you look at the state Supreme Court race in Wisconsin, you see that something ridiculous, like 77% of Brad Schimmel's, the conservative, the Republican candidate there, his 77% of his donations come from within the state of Wisconsin. And it's something outrageous, like 90% of what's her face, Crawford's, come from out of state. And it's just this, what we need to do, regardless of the end, and the end is big. The money that is thrown around is as offensive to everyday hardworking people who are trying to manage raising their children, to try to make sure that drugs don't infiltrate their homes, to try to pay their bills and get ahead. And then you've got this just absolute abject purchase of elections, and it's all got to stop. It must stop. And Donald Trump was elected by a landslide to do that. And that is what the majority of the people in this country want. We want exceptionalism. We want to be great again. And that should not be something that we should be embarrassed of. I'm not.
Amen.
Wendy, I've noticed on your Twitter X feed, which is at Wendy Bell PGH, at Wendy Bell PGH, you've been posting frequently in conjunction with your feed for your show. It's a bad day to be a liberal in America. And Wendy, it really is. And this Democratic Party This Democratic Party now appears completely wandering, meandering, and aimless. But Wendy, you and I both know the left is never going to want to give up their control, their hold on power. So they're going to be back, right? And Republicans really need to deliver in these first 2 years of Trump 2.0, don't they?
Well, I think what you need to do, and I think you gentlemen would agree with me, is you need Congress to actually pass some laws. We need to codify some of these things that Trump has executed in the beginning of his administration via executive order. These things need to be passed. We have the House. We cannot be a repeat of his first term where there was no motion, no unanimity, no team spirit. And I think that enough people in this country are awake after the 4 years of Biden and just the abject ridiculosity, as I make up a word, of what we all went through with COVID and all that bullcrap. I think that all you need to say to yourself is, what did you like about the last 4 years so much that you want to have it back?
Wendy, speaking of ridiculosity, did I say that correctly?
Spot on, my man.
Our boy Cory Bush, senator from New Jersey, still on the Senate floor, 20 hours. It's not a filibuster, but it is a Senate speech. I got to be candid with you. I'm a little jealous as a talk show host that this guy's talking 18 hours straight, probably about nothing, but it's kind of impressive, right?
You know, it would be remarkable if they would talk about the things that they did over the last several years to enrich themselves. I find it curious that someone like a Hakeem Jeffries can come into the House of Representatives several years ago, $40,000 in debt, now have a net worth of somewhere upwards of $40 million.
Wow.
I mean, we look at Jasmine Crockett, who is a piece of all things I can't say because of FCC regulations, who, you know, all of a sudden now has $9 million, multiple multi-million dollar homes. It's like they think America is stupid, and it's like they think we want to keep financing the grift. This is why all knives are out for Elon Musk, because what he's doing is going to expose every bit of it, and there will be no hiding. Much like your opening clip with, you know, Pam Bondi trying to get the death penalty for Luigi Mangione. You want to gauge the crazy of the left, go to California, where they're passing laws in his name, because you cannot make this crap up.
Wendy, I'm sure your listeners like ours are a little bit nervous about the economy right now, as they should be, because I think people are just now realizing how bad Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the rest of the DC Democrats broke it over the last few years. But Wendy, you know, to make an analogy to another situation, I saw a headline today: illegal border crossings hit a record low in March. And just to give people a comparison, 1 year ago today, illegal border crossings hit a record high of 137,000 in 1 month. And last month under Trump, it was down to 7,000. I don't know. That's a decrease of 80 bazillion percent, right? So, Wendy, I guess my question is, Donald Trump is going to have to do things, continue to do things, the exact opposite of what we've gotten used to over the last 4 years under Democrats. And that includes breaking and restructuring our economy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna take a different path than you in the beginning of that, because I don't believe that the people in my community here in Pittsburgh are looking at the economy with, you know, chewed fingernails. I think we're going to look at tomorrow in the Rose Garden. They call it, you know, Liberation Day. You're going to have a president who's going to punch back at countries who expect us to pay for their defense and pay for all of the things that they want to do, but shaft us in the United Nations and screw us with trade deals. Finally, you've got somebody standing up saying, suck it. We're not going to take it anymore. We're the biggest purchaser of all goods in the world. We spend $20 trillion a year. And Donald Trump's message to everybody is either pay us, pay us commensurate to what you charge us, and make it easy. That's called fair trade, or build your stuff in America. And he's already secured more than $2.3 trillion in new investment. Joe Biden was asleep on some beach somewhere without his shirt on, which is never a good look at that age.
Exactly.
He didn't do crap. So I refuse the predicate that people are nervous about the economy. People are excited about a resurgence because they see a president who sees the value in American exceptionalism and backs the American people.
Wendy, last week,
Well
the Congressional Budget Office released a report saying that the U.S. was likely to breach the debt limit in August or September with Signalgate and everything else going on in the world. The fight in Congress between Republicans really on passing a budget has kind of gone by the wayside, but time is running. They want to have a budget blueprint, I think, by Easter. The House want $1.5 trillion in cuts. The Senate is at $3 billion in cuts. That's a huge gulf there. Look into your crystal ball. What do you see?
Wow. I wish I had a viable answer for you there, Chris, but I can tell you just in this CR that is limping us through the end of September, I mean, you've seen something that really has never been done in my lifetime. I'm going to be 55 on Friday. I can tell you I don't remember a government that has cut back its spending, that has said, you know what, we want to increase by, $500 million the benefits to moms with SNAP, with supplemental nutrition assistance for children. We're going to give more to veterans. We're going to give more to the military to protect, to make sure we have the most lethal fighting force. All these things that are going on, they have to continue. All of these things that Donald Trump and this administration has to do, and all you're going to hear is the media nitpicking. You're going to hear the Democrats complaining about it. And you know what? As long as the GOP stands strong and comes through with the things that it promises made, promises kept, we're going to be A-OK. And we have the potential now for these people now, 21% approval rating in Congress, Democrats have. That's blistering. I don't know how you come back from that for midterms. I really don't.
Here. Speaking of Wendy Bell of Wendy Bell Radio, Wendy Bell PGH on Twitter X. Wendy, you referenced it in our last discussion about the need to restructure our economy and get America First policies in place. Donald Trump's doing that on the international stage too, isn't he? Part of the Trump world order is to make sure that America, safety, security, peace, and prosperity is foremost before we continue to send billions, if not trillions of dollars all over the world stage, right?
Right on. And did you hear Jamie Raskin today, the Claude from Maryland, who says he demands that the Tren de Aragua and the MS-13 gang members that were just deported should come on back. And I want to let him know, like, hey, I'm totally cool with that if they want to resettle in his neighborhood.
Yes.
We defunded the police here in Pittsburgh. We don't have cops really anymore. We should do that in Maryland. I think that would be super duper. And we'll see how Jamie Raskin and the other rats who got pardoned would like that. I don't have any time for these fools and their shenanigans. We have a country to save, and we've got about 3 years and 9 months to do it.
Wendy, before we wrap up, I want you to tell folks a little bit about the show. I'm very honored to be on every now and then. And the concept that I like about your show is that you have a panel of talk show hosts on, and we talk about the issues. So I've been on your show where you've had someone on from San Diego.
I love having you on.
Thank you. You've had someone that's in the middle of the country, and then you'll have someone from New York or Miami. And I think it gives the audience a real kind of, cross current of what's going on when you have talk show hosts from all over the country discussing the issues. I think it's a brilliant concept.
Right on. I don't think you're going to find a more appropriate group of people who will be able to, on the cuff, be able to discuss the news of the day than you will with talk show hosts. And talk radio is about as hot as it can be, and I love having you on. So we have this Common Sense show. It's on Newsmax. It's on the weekends. They float me around. I'm not a big player on Newsmax, but I do have my own radio network and my own radio program. It's called Wendy Bell Radio, live streams on Rumble. I'm the #1 female podcaster on that platform. I'm one of the top live streamers in the world, and that's because people are hungry for common sense conservative values. And you know what? When it comes from the mouth of a mom of 5 sons, I think people pay attention to that, and it's an honor. And it's an honor to have you, Chris.
I
I really
appreciate
enjoy
that.
you so very much.
And I just want to tell you, we've got some pretty good folks here on News Talk STL that would make great guests on the Wendy Bell Show. My partner who was with us, so if you ever are needing someone to give a perspective. And I have one more. I have a request for you, if you don't mind. Vic Porcelli. I don't know if you remember that name. He was a big radio DJ here when you were here. Now he switched to talk radio. He's on our station. He has prominent and notable people say the Pledge of Allegiance to start off his show. He has the 9 to 12. And I just want to ask you, would you mind saying the Pledge of Allegiance for the Vic Porcelli show so he can play that in the morning or other mornings?
I do it every morning on my show. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
You're freaking setting me up.
I'm sorry.
I see what's going on here.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I add an amen.
All right. I'm sure Vic
is
will
going to
be
love that.
Vic will be pleased. Wendy, it's been a true honor to have you on our show. I hope that you will come back on again and have a great week, my friend.
I'd be delighted, and thank you for having me, guys. Let's go, St. Louis. I love you.
Go Cardinals, right?
Amen.
Even
Better
over
than
the
my
Pirates?
Jeez.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right. Wendy Bell there, Tim. I enjoyed doing her show. It's fun. She makes it fun.
Yeah, what a great lady. She's what a positive spirit, very funny, a lot of wit and wisdom there, and really enjoyed speaking with her. Good catch.
All right, be ready now when she calls you to have her on her show. You got to represent the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show and News Talk STL now.
Absolutely, indeed. Anytime.
All right, 5:47. We'll come back, wrap up with something light, maybe talk a little movies. Who knows? You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Come on, Wendy. Let's see what they're up to.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Mostly cloudy tonight. Will drop to 56 degrees. A little bit breezy. Wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. Wednesday, it's going to be a cloudy day. Rain and storms are likely. Some of those could be severe, mainly during the afternoon. Quite windy. Wind gusts could be as high as 40, maybe 45 miles per hour out of the south. That rain comes to an end Wednesday night. Overnight, we'll drop down to about 53 degrees under partly cloudy skies. And then more rain for Thursday. Not storms, just rain, but it is likely Thursday afternoon. The high temperature, 63 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
You know, one of the greatest conservative minds just happens to be a great friend of ours, Paul Kurtman. He joins us Wednesday at 9:25 to play the Be or Not the Be.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here to tell you all about Hanson's Tree Service. HansonsTree.com. HansonsTree.com is where you find the website and all the information you need to know about expert insured tree care all over the St. Louis region and beyond. Hanson's Tree Service provides a variety of services, including tree care, green resource recycling, grinding and land clearing, and so much more. Order mulch online, get a hassle-free estimate, 6 months, same as cash. Make a payment, and more. You can book appointments. You can book a tree inspection. You can find the emergency service line. 636-379-1830 is that number. That's the daily business line. That's the emergency service line. And both of them can be found at hansonstree.com. Chad Hanson is a great American. He's an independent small business owner, just like we are here at News Talk STL. He's been a huge supporter of the station, of the Speaker's Stump Speech, and so much more since we began. If you have any tree needs, which, trees, besides your home, trees, bushes, shrubs, they're generally some of your biggest, most expensive assets next to your home. They help make your home more beautiful. So if you've got hanging tree limbs and branches and stumps that need to be cleared out, Hanson's Tree Service, your one-stop shop for all your residential and commercial tree care needs. HansonsTree.com. That's HansonsTree.com.
Have you been injured in an accident? You need a personal injury law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, we've been fighting and winning for St. Louis. $5 billion in negotiated settlements? We've got it. $300 million in verdicts? Done. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row. Onder wins all the time. Car accident, trucking accident, workplace injury. No matter the case, let Onder win for you. When the stakes are high, we're the team you can trust. Wondering what your case is worth? Call now for a free consultation. And remember, we don't get paid unless you win. Dial 314 or 618-9-million. That's 9, then all zeros. Or visit onderwins.com today. Onder Law. Winning is what we do.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond. You can check them out at Vincent's.com, or better yet, see these lab-grown diamonds in person. You're going to be amazed at the beauty and the price. Vincent's Jewelers, Vincent'sJewelers.com.
Turning 65 soon? Medicare decisions don't have to be overwhelming. Hi, I'm Debbie Westhoff with Westhoff Agency. We have helped hundreds of people just like you navigate Medicare options. Let me, Debbie Westhoff, be your personal Medicare guide, walking you through each choice to find the coverage that truly fits. Don't leave your healthcare decisions to chance. Call me at 636-500-1843 or visit us at westoffagency.com. Westhoff Agency is your trusted Medicare partner. That's westoffagency.com.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
The storm out, waiting for the thaw out on a full moon night in the Rocky Mountain winter.
Hooters is shifting away from its well-known small waitress outfits and opting for a more family-friendly vibe. Facing nearly $400 million in debt, the chain is now filing for bankruptcy protection as it looks to sell its company-owned restaurants to 2 groups backed by the original founders. Those original founders said they want to make the restaurant more sought after and accessible across the country. They're also vowing to improve the food and ingredients.
5:53 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Tim, I thought the old adage in marketing was sex sells. Hooters seems to be taking an opposite view of that.
Is this an April Fool's joke?
That's what I thought too. Come on, tell me it's not true. Joey?
I don't know. I have no idea. Is Joey our Hooters expert? I haven't been to Hooters in a long time.
There's one.
The food does suck.
There's a stone's throw right from the front door here in Maryland Heights. I was thinking if you have 254 of these franchises and you let them wear warmer clothing, you don't have to crank up the heat as much because they're, not as naked, and you can save money that way as well.
I have to admit, I'm not a big Hooters restaurant attendee or attender. I've probably have been to Hooters to eat probably less than a handful of times. It's just their food has not been notable to me. You don't hear about how good the food is. It's just you go in there and there's girls in skimpy outfits, and
Well, here's
that
the
didn't
problem.
appeal to me to go eat. Oh yeah, I want to go look at boobs that I can't touch to eat. Come on.
Well, that's the problem. So many other, so many other places have emulated Hooters with the outfits and then some, but they've got better food. That's the problem. So you've got a lot of choices now of places that have, wonderful ladies at them, and the food's better. So you're not going to go to Hooters because Hooters is a franchise and they don't put much emphasis on the food. So I think they could revamp it. I think they could rebuild it, but it's going to take some work.
That's why we go to the Hideout in High Ridge.
That's right.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I've never been there, but isn't Twin Peaks, isn't that a ripoff of Hooters?
I think so. I think that's one of the many,
He's playing coy. He knows the 10 other ones. Yeah, Show Me's. That's one. DB's. There's another one. Yeah.
Joey's got the countdown.
Look, when I heard Twin Peaks, I was like,
Shots?
that's a TV show, isn't it? I had no idea I didn't know it was a restaurant until that biker situation happened there, where they shot up the bar. A bunch of bikers shot up the Twin Peaks. I thought it was a TV show.
Tilted Kilt. I know them all.
Tilted Kilt. Joey does know. Wow, he's rattling them all
that
off.
sounds like a good Irish bar, though. Tilted Kilt, that you got a little hole in the wall. Is that a real place?
It's a Hooters ripoff, but Scottish.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
It's not Scottish, it's crap. Yes.
Tim, I don't know if you heard this, but U.S. prosecutors, Trump Justice Department, are probing a claim that drug maker GSK and Pfizer delayed the release of its COVID-19 vaccine until after the 2020 election. You want to say it with me? Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise, surprise, surprise.
That doesn't shock anybody at all.
Doesn't float anybody's boat.
No. Joel, you had a movie thing you were talking about when we were on break. What was it?
Well, I did watch a few Jack Ryan films over the weekend. I saw Patriot Games, and I also watched Clear and Present Danger because I love The Hunt for Red October, and it's kind of diminishing returns. I don't think I'm going to watch the one with Chris Pine, and I'm not really into TV, but I'm sure people love the TV show. Tim, are you a Jack Ryan fan?
I've watched a few of them over the years, but it wasn't one I sought out. I don't know why. I don't think there's any reason necessarily. I spent my time watching James Bond and what's his face? Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise.
That surprises me. I would have figured that you would have been a fan. All right. We've got Larry Connors, USA, coming up next. He's going to talk about the U.S. going after the Sinaloa cartel, how a case against French politicians mirrors attack on Trump, and anti-Semitism myths. That's Larry Connors up next. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game. It's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There is no better way to enjoy America's favorite pastime than cheering on the Cardinals with your family at Busch Stadium. From the thrill of watching the game to the kid-friendly activities, food, and fun, the ballpark has it all. Make magical memories as you cheer together for every home run, double play, and Cards win. Your family summer tradition starts here at Busch Stadium. Grab your tickets today at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel,